Power Rangers and Go-Go Loser Ranger may be really interesting, but can you imagine if they were actually Grim Reapers trying to do the same job?
Hey, I'm Lloyd.
And I'm Natasha with Midnight Comics, and welcome back to another episode of
What We're Reading. Today we're reading Grim Hero by Ashley Cheatham with New Arc and Constant Hustle.
But before we get into that, we just want to remind you that here on Midnight Comics channel, every Saturday, we give you new indie comic book recommendations. And so if you're into that and like to hear about new and interesting comic books, make sure you subscribe to the channel right here. Like this video so we get seen by the algorithm, and of course share with all your friends so they also get some really cool new reading recommendations. We also have our Patreon where you can get first looks at all these kinds of things, but more on that at the end of the video.
Yep, so starting with the cover here on Grim Hero. So the cover, very interesting array of colors. I love it though. It pops. The artwork is good. A lot of hot pinks, light greens and stuff like that.
Something
really
you wouldn't think with a name like Grim,
right?
But it draws you in.
Like, and really then the fit for the characters and stuff like that. It looks really good. So it definitely has a lot of inspiration. Talk about the cover, the feel of the character's outfit and all that other stuff. Definitely a Sentai type show or Kamen Rider, what have you, in regards to how the fit looks.
I feel definitely more Kamen
Rider for sure.
More Kamen Rider type character because he looks alone, at least as far as we know for now.
Right. So looks, oh man, it looks good. You can't really tell what's about to happen in this story. You know how we talked about in a previous video where some comic book covers will either give you the whole story on the front cover or just do something completely outrageous and nothing that has to do with the story. But this one, you can't really read what's going to happen in the story, but you get 3 characters on the front. It looks good, plenty of space on there. It doesn't feel cluttered or anything like that. And again, the artwork looks phenomenal.
It looks very nice and very spaced out.
Yeah.
So, of course, with that being said, now we're going to talk about the interior art.
Interior art looks good.
It's comic book manga style, kind of like.
Yes, it's
kind of like Tony Hunter.
No. Yeah, no, it wasn't. Yeah. But the dimensions of the book give you American comic book. The interior artwork gives you manga, but how it reads is like a comic book. So it's not, back to front, if you would, or right to left, rather.
It's something we didn't mention when we were talking about Hunter, but it's the same way. It's like it has the dimensions of a manga, but layout like a comic book, but then the art is
manga
kind
style.
In manga, kind of in between.
Yeah. So
this is definitely the art style is more manga.
Yeah, and there is the style. There was one page in particular, and I'm pretty sure it was one of the first pages, where you see like the planet that they're on. Yeah. That shot is gorgeous. Everything's in black and white again. It's really set up like a manga. It looks gorgeous. And then when you get to the next pages, there's nothing wrong with them. No, hopefully you get that connotation. It looks absolutely wonderful. And it really reminds me of Bleach in regards to the detail. Yeah, again, just how it looks.
Well, I would say something like literally in the beginning of Bleach, like season 2. Like,
yeah.
I was talking about the second arc here.
Yeah. So yeah, the artwork is very reminiscent of Bleach. Just how the characters are detailed, how it looks, even kind of the scene composition.
Right, because like the way the certain characters are looming over the character is definitely a lot like how it looks in certain parts of Bleach.
And it might be a bit of a hindsight thing, but it's interesting that it was something about the lighting was so much more prominent and kind of ethereal maybe in comparison to later on in the book where we see him in the fit that we see at the beginning on the cover, and it looks like different locations in the book, and this is kind of getting into the story and stuff like that, but to keep it kind of vague at the moment, you have one location, everything is just kind of bright, and which is kind of the opposite of what you get from the word grim, right? But it's kind of bright and stuff like that, and I guess it's kind of symbolizing this journey he's about to go on. But then when you flip over to what's happening on the latter half of the book, it doesn't have that same feel.
It's more gritty.
It's more gritty, right?
From the name
Grim Hero. So
now, to be fair, which I guess in that case we get into the story at this point.
Yeah.
To be fair, where he's from is a place called
Grimroar or something like that. Yeah.
So that can definitely attribute to the title.
Yeah.
But I do think the story is also supposed to be
and he was
grim.
Right, and he was a reaper, what have you, in the place, and he wanted to take these trials to become a part of what's called the Black Guard. But there's like plenty of other Reapers that came before him trying to do it. Why should we choose you? You get all the story beats and stuff there. I love it. The pacing is great.
First, like, 2-3
That's all. Yeah, no spoilers. That's like the first page or two. But yeah, really good though. Again, we're diving into the pacing for it. It's great. You get an idea of the character, where he comes from. Still have questions, sure.
Definitely. I mean, there's always questions.
There's always questions, but if there's questions,
is a good thing.
that's perfect.
Exactly.
So you get to see where they're from. You get to see what they want to accomplish. You get a little bit of a training arc or prep arc or stuff like that, but you don't really get to dive into the intricacies of it, which is good because it leaves opportunity to see more.
In this case, this wasn't the time to dive into the intricacies of it, so that was a good thing.
Right.
It works. That's something we can definitely revisit later on.
Yeah.
Another issue.
It definitely they more utilize that scene as a warning of, are you sure about this decision? This is your last chance.
It was essentially before we get into what's about to happen, here's a little bit of how we got here.
Yep.
All right. And why he works the way he works.
Right. And then we flip over to sometime later. And then we get to see what the rest of the world looks like, or different world looks like, because we're no longer on the Grimoire section. Right. We're on what is seemingly Earth, and things don't look good. So we're not going to say much more about that, but again, the pacing between getting introduced, seeing where the character's from, seeing what they potentially have to go through to become the hero that we see on the front cover, and then seeing what the world looks like as they get ready to dive into that. Absolutely amazing. And it ended off on a really good note and somewhat of a cliffhanger.
I mean, when you think about it, like any comic book, especially in issue 1, ending is going to feel like somewhat of a cliffhanger because there's supposed to be more story.
Facts, yeah.
Unless it's a one-shot.
I think without that last scene, it would have worked as a one-shot, kind of, I think. Yeah. Maybe. But regardless, I want more. So they did an outstanding job. But yeah, absolutely amazing. I want to see another one. I want to see a number 2. I want to see where they're going with the story. I want to get to know the character a little bit more. But again, not taking away from anything that we got in this one.
About the adversaries of the character.
A little bit more about the adversaries and stuff like that. But that's in regards to this one. I know we don't review things or anything like this, but this was a really good story. The only complaint I got is I wish it was a little bit longer. Came out with a part 2, but I'm sure I would have complained that there was no part 3. So,
well, I mean, as far as we know, there was supposed to be a part 3.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good. So
make sure you check it out. Definitely all the information for where you can find Grimm, at least issue 1, will be down below in the description. Of course, also in the description will be all our information, because don't forget we are Midnight Comics. We have all our own stuff that you can find on midnightcomics.org, where we have comics, posters, and merchandise.
Yep. So definitely check all those things out. And remember, of course, check us out on all of our various social media pages. We're Midnight X Comics everywhere, except for right here on YouTube, obviously, and Patreon, where we have a lot of neat things on there, like What If Wednesday, community character creation nights, and of course, your early viewings of Indie Breakdown and Indie Versus.
Of course, don't forget to go follow us on Patreon, where you can get access to all that stuff, plus so much. So make sure you join us over on Patreon. And
one last thing we do want to announce, or rather remind everybody, that we do have what's called the Midnight Domain. We do offer services on there, like writing services, character development, story development, and something that we've been talking about for a while, a public domain course, where basically we're going to teach you how to utilize public domain characters effectively and, well, legally. So definitely tune in for that, sign up for that. We'll be happy to help you on that journey and show you how we did it. And so without further ado, thank you guys for tuning in, and remember, until next time, midnight is coming. Yeah. I thought you were about to say something about the story. Oh, that is a pretty bird.
Summer night, it's summer night. She left me so late, should've spent the night. No need to hit follies, I'm working her body out, said she in love with the fitness type.